My co-founder and I had launched a few direct-to-consumer kind of better for you brands and had a holiday cookie that we didn't sell through. And in January, we stopped and said, what are we doing? We want to make a big impact in the food industry. We really want to bring better for you foods to the masses.
That's Kari Morris, co-founder of Martie. I'm Kara Duffy, and this is the Powerful Ladies podcast. Welcome to the Powerful Ladies podcast.
Hi, it's so great to be here.
I'm so excited to have you here today. I have a bunch of questions, but I love that we met at Roanne's house for her workshop of bringing business-minded owner women of LA together because we all needed a little reset to come back to what really matters.
You said it perfectly.
How did you meet Roanne?
I met Roanne when I was in my 20s in New York through a mutual friend. I had sort of thrown myself into cooking and hosting events and parties, and I ended up meeting and working on an event that she was hosting in her office for Row & Co. And we both migrated west and have kids the same age. And that's, kind of how life works. We've kind of stayed in touch and continued to build on a friendship.
I love when the community keeps building on top of each other. It's like you pick some up here, you pick some up there, you both move to LA, you keep collecting more people. It's a good sign that you're surrounding yourself with really good women.
Yes. And it doesn't stop.
Yeah.
I'm still picking up people as I go. So.
Well, let's tell everybody your name, where you are in the world, and what you're up to.
My name is Kari Morris. I'm in Los Angeles, and I'm the co-founder of Martie, Martie.com. And we are an online discount grocery store.
I'm so excited to dive into Martie and all the things about it. Because I was on there today, putting together my little shopping cart, and things that I buy all the time are on there. And when you are advertising that you're saving your customers not just thousands of dollars, but millions of dollars collectively, and you're making things better for the planet, and you're preventing food waste, it is the easiest thing to say yes to that I have seen get created in the longest time.
I like that. It's an easy yes. And you're right. There are many benefits and moments where it's really simple to add to your cart and feel good at the end of the day. And it's true. When I'm shopping Martie, I'm constantly putting things in my cart, like coffee. And, it's not necessarily the same coffee brand every time, but when it's 50% off, it's a feel good moment.
Where did the idea of Martie come from?
My background is in food. Like I mentioned in New York, I had a company, and so kind of was on the other side of this scenario. Early days was making products and would oftentimes find myself in a situation where I would have seasonal product that didn't sell through, or product that, is coming up on shelf life and it won't move through traditional channels. So, as a vendor, as a producer, I sort of knew that piece of the industry, and there wasn't a great option to kind of offload that product and realize value for it. And my co-founder and I, this was in the middle of COVID, had launched a few direct-to-consumer kind of better for you brands and had a holiday cookie that we didn't sell through. And in January, we stopped and said, what are we doing? We want to make a big impact in the food industry. We really want to bring better for you foods to the masses. We want to disrupt what's happening out there. And we're not going to do it through these holiday cookies. Like, we need to think bigger. And the opportunity really kind of naturally presented itself. We started asking, well, how are we going to move these holiday cookies? The options were limited. The light bulb went off, and we thought, well, why don't we be that option for vendors to offload product, feel good about what they're doing? It doesn't have to be an icky experience to, sell it for less to, liquidation, but it can be a way to celebrate, like, we all have these issues. There's supply chain issues, there's, short dates, and like sometimes you got to move it fast. Um, and the big, aha moment is like there are a lot of these better for you brands, whether it's, organic or, better kid snacks, gluten free. People with dietary restrictions want to try these products and might not be able to at full price. Um, so it really is kind of like a discovery platform as well. And we're not training the customer to always come get your groceries or your same products at a discount. This is kind of like a treasure hunt. Try it. If you love it, you're going to go find it somewhere else at full price. So I think it really is like a nice way for brands to realize value and for customers to also realize value.
Well, when we look at all the issues that women have on their to-do list to fix at a global level, or even in the nation level, or even coming down to greater Los Angeles level, food scarcity, food access, food waste is a big deal. And like all issues in the world, they tend to impact women and minorities way faster than other groups. How important is it, or how good does it feel to you guys knowing that you're actively working on a real solution? Like, this is something that solves so many problems and is fun and exciting and delicious. And like, there's just upsides in this. And that just must, I imagine that feels so good. So how does it occurring on your side?
I was asked this recently. I just think that there's really no other way to have a business these days. Like, if you're not, if there's not a mission, behind it that is, better for the planet and better for the people, I think you really have to ask yourself why you're doing it. So I feel really lucky that, for us, it was, the opportunity was there and we were the right people to tackle the problem. And and it feels really good to know that we are making food more accessible. Just, price point alone. And I think there's still a lot more we can do, especially when you localize it and you think about, food distribution and how people get things. Not everybody has, the luxury of having packages delivered. Sometimes that can be complicated, or, getting things online. So I think there's still, even more barriers that we can break. And one of the things that we are actively and have been actively looking into is food stamps and adding that as an option on the site. So I think that'll, just be another unlock for us to make this more accessible.
On a day-to-day level, what brings you joy that you're doing for this business?
I love the people we work with. I love how everybody, is constantly thinking through how we can do things better, from like a process standpoint. And we're all very aligned and very supportive of each other. And then personally for me, I went to art school. I have a painting degree, and while I never fully realized that and became a painter, I jumped right into, a career in food. For me, it's really important to try and remember to always integrate that into my work. And I think we actually talked about this. But I've found like a very nice kind of way to always remember that like what I do is creative and there's painting all around me. And, I find it in my day-to-day process in small moments where I'm looking at ad creatives or, mocking something up, even, if it's like a redesign for like a UX problem, it's like all around. So I think those little moments of joy are just sort of like remembering that I get to create this world where I get to be creative and build something that's meaningful and they can happen together.
A lot of people get nervous going into business with a friend. How do you and your co-founder manage your professional relationship versus your personal relationship? And how has that been for you guys?
Um, it's been it's been amazing. When we met, we were put together. We were introduced from a friend of mine, um, and we didn't know each other. Our backgrounds were different, but we had similarities in that we were incredibly ambitious and hard workers, and we loved to solve problems. And we had, just had kids about the same age. So we had a lot of things that we connected on, and I think we complement each other very well. And we have a nice way of socializing and working, and we can kind of wear both hats, and they dip into one another. And um, when we need to let off steam, we dance.
As you
So
should.
that's fun. That's fun. Everyone should dance more.
Mhm. Did your relationship with food shift or evolve after becoming a mom?
Yes. Um, and I'm laughing because it's on one hand, it's like you're reading the back of labels more, like you're cooking at home more. But you're also kind of given into the idea that you are going to have ketchup in the fridge, and chicken nuggets are sometimes something that happens. And so it's going from living in New York and going out to eat and having fabulous meals, and it's definitely there's a shift to um, there's a little bit more convenience, but there's also really beautiful, cooking at home more, and kind of just going back to the basics, compartmentalizing the meal into colors, if you will.
No, I think it's interesting how there's been so much shift in like what women in particular have to read every label of every product, the food and what we put on our skin. And even, buying furniture nowadays, you're like, oh, is this going to have to off gas? Like, we don't want to have to do that. I feel like there's just so much, there's such a big burden where we have to be checking everything all the time. How are you balancing caring and prioritizing what those things are for you and also just remembering like you're human and you can't like micromanage this whole process?
Yeah. I mean, less is more, right? So, we go to the farm. We're very lucky to live in LA and have farmers markets. So we stock up on fresh produce. I, when I shop Martie, I like to shop for nuts and oatmeal, dried beans, packaged beans, cooked beans. Things that are relatively straightforward. And then there's snacks that might be more complicated, or they might have sugar in them, and those are treats, and those are okay. Those are things that we have every once in a while. But I think as a general rule, it's less is more on ingredients. So I think it's kind of sticking with that.
Yeah. When you hear the words powerful and ladies next to each other, do their definitions change or evolve versus when they're apart? And how would you define them?
How are they? So, I mean, I think that there's every woman I know is powerful in their own right, whether it's having kids or having a career, or and you name it, managing family issues. Like, we're doing a lot, we juggle a lot, and I think I see it all around me, in so many ways. I don't know how to answer that question better.
You talked about your background in art, and we had a little conversation the day we met about like finding your way back to it and how to fill your life with it, even if it wasn't a career that you were focusing on. How do you choose to bring art into your life? And, how does having a moment, either creating something yourself or appreciating someone else's art, how does that change your day, your week?
Um, yeah, I think this is a good one. I think for a while I kind of tried to compartmentalize them and maybe created a narrative that like it wasn't available to me because I was so busy with work. And I've really worked hard to kind of like break down that story, and to just, accept that I can have it and it is there, it's available to me. And I think that has changed a lot of how I approach my work and how I think about creativity. And like I said, it's everywhere, even if it's just, doing a drawing with my 6-year old for his homework, or honestly, putting together dinner and being inspired about the ingredients I'm using and wanting to, document it. Like it's it's the little moments that I get to like celebrate, and those are a nod towards like you're in the right place at the right time, successfully engaged in your activities, doing you. And so I think like I I feel a lot more comfortable saying that like I am a painter, I am an artist, and this is my canvas. These are my things that make me creative. Um, and to your point, even looking at art, like going to a museum or finding somebody online that is painting that is I'm really inspired by, like, um, that helps me find more creativity and more drive to continue to explore and be curious about what others are doing.
Are there some favorites that you go back to, whether it's a piece or an artist or a museum?
I don't have, there's one artist that I love, and his name is Raul de Kaiser. He shows with David Zwirner, and his paintings are sort of about the mundane, but they're sort of abstracted, and I really resonate with like the way that they can be, a glimpse into a moment, or uh, like a still life, but also like an abstraction of shapes and textures and colors. And for me, it's like a nice way to get lost in something that I can understand and access and still kind of get lost in.
Mhm.
I think that's kind of how I think about painting.
Well, whether it's art or it's nature, there's so many moments of everyday life that if we allow ourselves to be enchanted by them, it completely shifts what we're thinking about, how we're feeling, and especially in how crazy the past month in particular has been. I find myself, intentionally coming back to that idea of like, okay, if I just look around the room or I look around in my walk, what what can I be enchanted by that's here? Because I'm fighting so hard to like play into the narratives that are being told right now. And
Yeah,
I'm like, no, I understand that's where you want to go. I'm designing it differently. And I think my friends are too.
it's a nice reminder, and it's a good question to be enchanted by, and
Mhm.
controlling the narrative in your head around what's happening. You know, we're okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of gratitude. You're
So
okay.
much. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, and I don't have kids yet, but I imagine that there must be so many opportunities just engaging with your kids of remembering the magic that is all around us in some capacity.
100%.
Yeah.
They're living in a world of wonder and awe, and it can change from moment to moment. And we're on this journey with them.
Yeah. Yes. I know. I saw a really cute video the other day of it was a dad filming like really close. So you just saw like his son's profile of his little face. And he's talking, he's like, but dad, I can't get married. Like, if I have to wait until I'm 20 to get married, all of the sweet girls are going to be scooped up. And so I got to start asking them now. And he's like, Bub, you don't need to worry about that. Like, there'll be plenty of girls when it's time for you to get married. Like, and he's like, oh, okay, but are you sure?
We'll see how this plays out later. Yeah.
I
Great. I'm glad it's documented. Of his
know.
future wife.
Well, and there's so many women we've had on this podcast who are balancing being great moms, balancing being friends, balancing taking care of themselves, plus the career that they have. Are there routines, systems, structures, people that you rely on to make sure, like, as much of it can happen simultaneously as possible?
Yes. I'd like to give a shout out to my nanny. We have a wonderful nanny who's been with us for 6 years, and we always say that she's the reason why we have a second child and we're still married. She every day brings amazing energy into the house, and she's been a teacher in that way. Just that every day is a blessing, and it's so easy to get swooped up in the logistics. And she's always a reminder every day. She says, "How are you doing? How's your day?" And I sit there and go, "Good." And I guess, "How was your day?" And she goes, "It was the best. It was amazing."
Oh, I love
And
that.
it's so simple, but it's just a good reset. And it can happen every single day, and it still feels like a reset for her to say, "I had an amazing day. It was the best. Thank you."
Okay, we all need one of her.
Yes, she's been an amazing teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And, being a good partner to help with the day to day and keeping the wheels on. And, great friends. It's important to always continue to foster those relationships. And it's very different. It's different than what you have at home and what you have at work. And it's a nice, safe space.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, like, I have to constantly remind myself that it's important to move my body.
Yeah.
And, just to the extent that I can be mindful of my calendar and making sure that there's always a little time in there for me, and I can show up and be like the best version of myself for those around me. So you got to take care of yourself.
We
first.
do. I had a mini meltdown yesterday with my calendar. I just had gotten back from New York Wednesday night, and I woke up Thursday and I was like, who built this calendar?
Yeah.
And I was like messaging my team. I'm like, guys, there's no break for like 4 hours.
Yeah.
Like, at a minimum, I have to pee. Like, like, give me 10-minute window, something.
Yeah.
So we were moving things around to make sure that that's not happening, because there's so much going on. Like, we're running 3 companies, and plus my own life and all the things that are in that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, guys, we don't have to do everything in one day or 1 week.
Yeah.
Like, it's very rare that we have to do something that specific day or week. Like, let's be a little more thoughtful about it. And I know we were talking when we had we were at that workshop about, needing to pass things off and delegate, and being someone who talks about delegating all the time. I'm like, I usually think I'm good at it. And then I realize we've hit an expansion point when I'm hitting the ceiling again, being like, okay, we need to go to a new level of delegation. Whatever's happening, it's not working right now.
Yeah. And that can be challenging when you have a vision.
Mm-hmm.
You want something to be done, and you have to take the time to articulate, and things evolve and grow. And you have to kind of go back to the drawing board and say, this is still serving us quite often.
Yes. I know. And sometimes I feel badly for the people who are on my team, because we're moving so rapidly, and I'm like, hey, I know that you're probably very comfortable in the job you're doing, but I'm going to need you to like rise up behind me. So are you ready to be a leader? And they're like, oh Lord, okay. And I'm like, I know you can do it. I know you can. If I can do it, you can do it. But I think, sometimes as entrepreneurs, remembering that everyone else in our team isn't,
Yeah.
and the encouragement that's needed to be like, listen, I know we're on a roller coaster. I know you don't actually like roller coasters, but I promise you, the seatbelt is on, you will not fall out.
Yeah. We definitely, you know, I think I like, I definitely notice in others that I work
Mhm.
with the things that they do really well
Yeah.
are the things that I don't. And bless them. You know, it takes a village, both, you know, building a company and raising a family. And those differences are what, you know, make us dynamic and make us thrive. And they're important. They're important things to call out and, you know, recognize in people. Um, yeah, like I said, I definitely see that in my co-founder. She pushes me. I push her out of our comfort zones and the things that we, you know, the stories that we tell ourselves too about what, you know, what we might have fear around. You know, I think that's a big part of the work is to be able to address that fear and push through it.
Mhm.
And that
We all
it's
have it.
real. It's only real if you let it be real, right? We can.
Yeah. And I think sometimes too, like just saying out loud everything you're afraid of and worried about and anxious about and questioning, you say it out loud and sometimes it's less scary than whatever you've had in your head. And that's the beauty, I think, also of having a co-founder. Like the new business that we're launching in March has a co-founder. And it's nice to have that balance because things that they're worried about, I'm like, oh, that'll be fine. Things I'm like, what about this? Like, oh, it'll be fine.
100%.
And having that balance is nice. I honestly think it's why every business needs business coaches too, because you need someone to tell you like, it's fine. You're not insane. This will actually work. Let's just look at the numbers. Does this all make sense? It's we're really good at spinning things out. And I was curious about, I've been looking into like, is this something that women do more than men? And I don't think so. But I do think that there's an element of pressure that women, especially in our age group generation, have been carrying about, sure, you can do it all. And it has to be perfect. Like there's all these contradictions that we're having to balance that I didn't realize were contradictions until maybe the last 10 years. And I'm like, wait a second, like they're not worrying about that.
Yeah, I don't think it has to be perfect.
No.
I think I mean, at this point in my career and in this company, specifically to work, it's like, now's the moment. Don't hesitate. Like you know, everything you've done up until this point has led you to feel confident about taking the next steps forward. And again, having the co-founder to kind of to checks and balances along the way is like incredibly helpful. My first company, I did not have a co-founder. And when I sold that company, moved to New York or moved to California, there was no part of me that was thinking that I wanted to do that again.
Like that was cute. I love that idea. No.
No way. No way. But there's definitely, you know, power in numbers. And I have so much respect for my co-founder. And you know, I think that we can build an amazing company together, because we trust each other and we encourage and push each other to be better. So
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. Is it nice to find myself here in this, you know, in this unexpected sort of place.
Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of my clients have been coming to me asking how they keep doing their business the way they had planned after what happened, the LA wildfires, after things that are happening with the government that's impacting them. How are you guys choosing to move forward and kind of how are your values positioning you and navigating all the things that are happening in the world lately?
We just keep moving.
Yeah.
You know, the offers keep coming in. the orders keep going out. We can, it's sort of like we're staying in our lane.
Yeah.
I mean, we can just put our heads down and keep doing what we're doing, and as it presents itself as an opportunity, like we can, be helpful. It's like we know our business very well. We're in the business of moving food. And if it's like supply chain issues, if it's, we have 20 pallets of food in this location and it would be really helpful if it was in this location, like we can action on that. We did a toy drive in December, which was really great. Like we had this idea, we put it up on the site, we figured out how to like make a feature for people to very easily add a donation to their carts when they're checking out. And we ended up shipping, and we work with a local food bank. I think close to 700 toys, kids in need in that area, Dallas, close to where our warehouse is. And it was a great feeling. It was like, here's a problem, let's make a solution. That is kind of like how we can respond relatively quickly. And I think also because we're a startup and we're used to moving quickly and building things fast, like that's very much in our wheelhouse. So we can respond when there's like, again, the fires. It's like there's an organization that's looking to buy pallets of food. You can buy it from Martie. You're going to get 4 times as much product. Let's make it happen. So it's a good feeling to be able to move quickly and respond.
Well, I think it speaks to the fact that since the dawn of time, women have always been doing the work. They've always been taking the actions because there hasn't been a choice or even like we don't have to think about it. It's like, of course we want to make sure people have access to the food they need. Of course we want to make sure kids are okay. Like we're just doing it no matter what's happening around us because we know it has to be done. And I had an interesting conversation with somebody recently where I was like, they were asking like, what political positions is Powerful Ladies taking? And I'm like, we're not political. Like we've thought and felt the same things this whole time. The rest of the like outside forces keep moving the line of like normal, not normal. Like we haven't moved. It's like a friend of mine who grew up in Gilroy, Arizona. Her family's been there for generations. She's like, we didn't move. The border moved. Like we were indigenous and then we were Mexican and now we're American and we haven't moved. The line has just been moving around us this whole time. Right. And I just think that's what I love about getting to have this business and talk to incredible women like you is like we don't need to carry the burden of all the things on our own. Because when we look around and see what everyone's doing, it's like, look, everyone's taking steps. Everyone's moving things forward. And I hope people who are listening to this podcast are seeing more of that because so much of the conversations that are happening in other places just aren't paying attention to like all the good things that are moving forward. Now, this doesn't mean we can put our head in the sand. But there's a lot of goodness and a lot of movement and a lot of progress that's happening when people look. And if nothing else, it's a reason to move that VC funding number from 2% for female founding to anything higher because not only are women doing good work, like you get 4x return than when it's going to traditionally male-owned businesses. So I don't know, like even the math says yes.
Right. Well, and when you are passionate about what you're doing, it pays off. Like it is, and it's just, for me, food insecurity, making sure that there's access to food for families, for children, like that's that pulls at my heartstrings. And I know that like, if there's a way that I can just move the needle on that every day, like it's just, I will gravitate towards it and I will, it's like primal.
Yes.
okay, let's do it. What do we need to do?
Mhm.
Jump into action on it. And yeah, it's a good feeling to know that, like, faced with that problem, I know how to be useful. I know how to jump
Yeah.
in and just do what I do. So
Hmm. No, I really do believe that there's a woman has an answer for whatever we're doing. I know you've seen that Reese Witherspoon clip where she's talking about how in so many of her movies, or just movies in general, there's a line where something happens and a woman goes, "What should we do?"
oh
She
yeah.
goes, "I have never heard a woman ask, 'What should we do?'" They usually have 15 plans. So she's like, "I will not produce a movie that has that line in it because it's the most unrealistic thing I have ever seen." Um, but it is like there's every problem we're facing as a society, we have an answer for, at
Yeah.
least to move it towards the unknown component that we don't know the full answer yet. And women are a part of so many of the solutions as they always have been. And so I think that's what makes me so excited about what you guys are doing with Martie.
Yeah.
Because again, it's you've simplified it so much for the customer to be able to make a good choice that checks so many boxes. And I love when there's multitasking happening. Like if I can work out and catch up with friends and be outside, I'm like, yes, we've checked 3 boxes today. Let's keep going. And that's how I feel Martie is. And you don't have to worry about, oh, is it secretly doing something? It's like, no, you're getting food at a low cost. You're saving money. You're keeping it out of the landfills. There's all these things you're checking. So just thank you for making it. And the work that you're doing. It's really important work.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And it's hearing that every once in a while from strangers or friends that keeps us going.
Yeah. I know. It's
So,
like I'm excited to use this platform to be screaming Martie from the rooftops so people know.
nice.
As we were wrapping up for the day, I have a few kind of rapid fire questions for you. The first is, where do you rate yourself on the powerful lady scale? If 0 is average everyday human and 10 is the most powerful lady you can imagine, where would you score yourself today or on an average day?
I'll give myself an 8. And I would say that I can imagine myself being a 10. And that's how I'm going to get to a 10.
I love that. This is also a powerful community. We have so many people who can make things happen. So, what is on your wish list, manifest list, to-do list? How can we help you? Whether it's big, small, ridiculous.
Spread the word. We want everybody to know Martie. We want it to be a household name. I always like to think shop Martie first. When I'm going to the grocery store, just pull open my phone, see what's on there, see what I can save on before I, put something else in my basket. And yeah, spread the word. We want to have we are going to have an amazing growth year.
Mm-hmm.
And, it takes a village. So
I love that.
spread the word.
So everybody who wants to support you, go buy on Martie, where can they do all those things?
It's very simple, Martie.com, and Martie is Martie. So be a smarty, shop at Martie. I had to say it. I'm sorry.
But that's how we remember. Be a smarty, shop at Martie. Well, this has been such a pleasure. Thank you much for being a yes to me and to Powerful Ladies and for the work that you're doing in the world. It means a lot to us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kara. I would say the same back to you. I really appreciate being a part of this. And it's so fun to be a part of this community. So thank you.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share it with a friend. Head to thepowerfulladies.com where you can find all the links to connect with Kari, shop at Martie, and even get a special discount code just for listeners. Come hang out with us on Instagram at Powerful Ladies, and you can find me and all my socials at karaduffy.com. I'll be back next week with a brand new episode. Until then, I hope you're taking on being powerful in your life. Go be awesome and up to something you love.